Awesome. Hey,
Open air
Tyler.
record. Hey there. All right. Looks
All
like
right.
we're live though.
Good.
Welcome back to Built to Ship, the podcast where we go behind the scenes with founders and product leaders, shipping real AI products into the world. Today I'm joined by CJ, co-founder and CTO of Carvis.ai, building an AI agent for auto mechanics that instantly generates repair estimates, diagnostics, parts lists, and tool recommendations from shop data. CJ, great to have you.
Thank you for having me, Tyler. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Looking forward to the convo. So I want to start maybe at your background. I know based on LinkedIn that you started, you worked at Cruise for some time and then you pivoted
Yeah.
into Carvis. What was the gap that you saw in repair workflows or just the industry in general that gave you the idea?
Yeah. Regarding that, I mean, like Cruise, back when I joined, it was the coolest company to join. I mean, it's kind of cocky to say it, but it was, so I didn't particularly have a strong alignment with the car. I mean, although I was from Michigan, so that means I had a lot of touch point with vehicles and then car repair, but it just didn't come through until I was like, I'm gonna do software, and to do cool things in software, I want to go to Silicon Valley and then do Cruise, I guess. Cruise was one of our biggest customer at my previous job, which is a company called Duo Security. So it was sort of natural. A lot of us actually moved to Cruise. And then, yeah, I wanted to just learn how, AI works, I guess. That at that time, vision was a really big thing. So I was working on that. I was mostly a platform engineer. So basically sort of automating deployment of these AI models to our vehicles, sort of working on automation, a lot of Kubernetes stuff, plus working directly with the researchers. And they're making their code something runnable, They're mostly experiments. So, but yeah, it was a very interesting experience. Got to work with the smartest people I've ever known, for sure. The gap I saw was that, seems like a lot of money and the talents are all going to these cool things, right? Like self-driving, or maybe I guess at this point it's Gen AI. It's just not on the application layer where things needs to happen. Like when I was looking at Michigan, I've seen so many repair shops, and they're sort of hand wavy. I mean, I brought my car there sometimes, and then it sort of works, but it's like mom and pop. I guess that's the word for it. So I was determined to do something on automotive because both me and my co-founder Jay, he's from GM and Ford, so we're very aligned on automotive, and we probably have some unique insight on auto. So we were pretty determined to do this on this sector. And then the other thing was, okay, we wanted to use Gen AI, right? So we were playing with the idea. We were initially having some consumer apps. Okay, hey Tyler, we'll teach you how to fix your car. We have your cars, maybe repair manual and other stuffs. But like how often do you have a car issue, Tyler? Right? Hopefully not much, right? If you do, that's bad. You should change your car, really.
Yeah.
And so we're targeting, okay, what if we target DIYers? Because we know a lot of crazy DIYers, at least in Midwest, people like to play with their car. They will get 1980 Chevy and then fix it themselves. Well, that's such a niche market, and we were like, okay, we want to work with somebody who repairing is a big pain point and headache, right? Which is naturally, mechanic shop, professionals who do this for job, right? So initially we went there, but we had a lot of, I guess, challenges regarding, technicians are sort of doctors. And they have a strong pride on what they're doing, and also diagnosing is very, how do I say, it's a very complicated job, and then very risk heavy. Like the worst case is you could kill the person. Say you misdiagnosed a cylinder and then bust in the middle of the road, and you can't move the vehicle, and you're dying. And obviously you feel guilty, right? Like, because you're a technician, you're supposed to recommend it. Maybe the customer didn't take it, but maybe you didn't push it enough, right? Like, okay, if you tried this is just literally not going to work. You will die. It's just a matter of time, right? So essentially, it was just such a too heavy of a burden to replace with AI. And then we were looking, okay, what are some of the stuff that are less risky to replace, but will make their life so much better, which was quote generation. Essentially, what that means is, okay, hey Tyler, I know your car has a timing chain issue, but I have to give you, hey, okay, it's gonna cost you $6,000 because I have to spend 12 hours of labor on replacing timing chain, and then some, popping up your hood and then replacing stuff up, getting some stuff out so that I can change your timing chain. plus timing chain parts, plus I will have to have some what do you call it, one-time use objects like maybe bolts, maybe some of it is loose, I'll have to replace it. So that process usually take to 20 to 30 minutes to 2 hours maximum. I mean, 2 hours pretty extreme, but 20 to 30 minutes. And then we're utilizing historic data plus generative AI to oh sorry, yeah, we have a roommate. So essentially that's gonna enable a automatic code generation that can take up to 5 to 10 seconds, which is a lot faster than 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I mean, the core thing is historic data that we're utilizing. That yeah, he's going to Sequoia, so he's having fun. But anyways, yeah, sort of that's
Awesome.
how we got to our current idea, the iteration.
So it sounds. I love the story. It's really helpful for especially other like first time
Hmm.
founders to see how much you need to, like you have an essence of an idea, but you're kind of figuring out exactly where to really focus and hone in. And it sounds like you kind
Yep.
of did the evaluation of like who is our customer, and then what is the problem we're solving for that customer. And it sounds like you found the balance where it's like, hey, this is something that a human can do, but is it really worth their time? I'd rather they
Mhm.
focus on those life threatening things than like focus on like the mundane work of figuring out like how much to bill.
Right.
And but
Yeah,
that's
I
still an
mean,
important part of their process.
that sort of comes from my own experience at Cruise too. I think AI shouldn't take any like high, at least as a company, it's a bad position because Cruise we had a person and company went down and just happened once, right? I mean, we had every precaution you can even remotely think about. We had, I think, at least 1 million edge cases covered. You just need one edge case that you can't cover, and that's just not acceptable risk to me, to be honest. And I know a lot of people are like, I know it's if it gets good, it will get somewhere. No, I don't think it's a matter of technology. It's more about responsibility. That's how I think. It will be hard to change my mind, but I'm sure something could change my mind down the line. But
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah. Great. Well, I'd love to hear a little bit more about like how a customer would use Carvis. So like what does it look like? Do they log in on a phone? Do they how long does the setup take? Like what does it look like to work with Carvis as a mechanic shop?
yeah. So it'll be most of the mechanics shop have their laptop or computer setups in their shop. So usually they'll use web browsers. We mainly focus on Chrome just for the best experience, but it really doesn't matter. So it's essentially a web app. And then I would have to integrate with my existing, point of sale system and other, parts ordering platform and other. So one thing that we were surprised coming into is like we would expect, oh, it is all paper and pen. No, it's actually not. Like, so one of the oldest industry that has been, has digitized tools. They had POS systems since 1980s, and then all these things. It's just that, the thing is these legacy things still lives. That's the issue. So you expect 1980 software still is. I mean, I'm not saying they're bad. It's just, not, I would say archaic, right? Anyways, so all these existing ecosystem has to work. So a lot of our work is integrating some of them, and some of them take obviously a longer time because they're older, bigger guys. They're like, oh, they don't want to move quick, and then I think some work we're doing actually is in sort of threatening them. So it's great. I mean, means we're not crazy. It means we're doing something right. Just that we have to be pretty smart on how we can get to the next point without being blocked too
Awesome.
much by these incumbents.
How many of these like incumbents are there that you need to integrate with? Like how many of these systems? Is it five like big players or is it like hundreds?
I would say more like eight, but there are big ones. It's a bit more segmented. So I'll just give you a quick breakdown. So essentially, a lot of the shops are independents. Most of them are, mom and pop, usually one shop or two shop at most. Smaller sector being, these are richer folks. They have 5 shops, 10 shops. They're very relatively well off, in the region. Other cases, uh, franchises. It could be either PE backed or not. I can go more in detail on that, but basically they're buying up these independents or maybe small shop groups to make it okay 100, 500, 6,000, 12,000. So that's more of a scale of things, right? And each of these incumbents also focus on these different segments, right? Say Techmetric focuses on independent shop. They're trying to expand to the other side, but they started with independence, right? Or say Protractor, which is just focused on enterprise of size of 500 up to. So they won't even sell to you if you're okay. If you don't even have 500 shops, sorry, we're not going to sell you. You're not worth my time, right? So we're sort of picking and choosing, and right now we're going towards more of enterprise scale, so bigger side. So we're trying to work with those side of incumbents. So I guess further market segmentation. But we did have tried out independent sector, but we figured, okay, hey, we for the purpose of deployment and then making sure that we can have a great distribution channel, we're going towards the right where more enterprise, bigger size companies scale. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. So it sounds like is are these enterprise incumbents, are they your distribution channel? Like, are you selling directly to them and then they're the portal to the mechanic shop, or do you have to actually market directly to mechanic shops?
It's the complexity, right? They could be a partner, but eventually the one who's paying is mechanic shop. It's either I go through them and maybe do a rev sharing, or I directly sell to them and then tell them, hey, okay, if you don't integrate, you'll lose this customer, right? I mean, there'll be a great position to be,
Hmm.
but not that we could force them that much at this point. But yeah, so that's the complexity of it, right? Like we share the same customer. It's best if we can go through them. That'd be really nice because they spent 10 years building this distribution. So we don't want to do that, obviously. But it's just that, okay, what do we have as a leverage, right? Because I think they want to build this, and then they are also sitting on the data, like same data as we're sitting on. So it's just that I think we're better than them. Hopefully we are. If not, we're
Well,
bad, right? So.
when it comes to that data, how do you get the data, and is it different than theirs? Like, is that a differentiator, or does everyone have access to the same data? How does that work?
I would say they have access to the same data. So we're actually pulling directly from their POS systems. Essentially, hey, okay, Tyler brought in his, say, well, I don't know what's your favorite car, but let's say Lambo or Porsche like 911. So I found that, okay, he did a repair 2 years ago, and then it costed him 150K because of this repair. We call that repair order, right? It's a whole invoice that I charged Tyler, and it also had lists of, okay, I had to change engine oil, whatever, all these repair stuff that I had to do. We call them job. It's sort of logical blocks, right? So multiple jobs consist of one invoice. So we're pulling this information from the POS, and usually, POS defines how the schema looks and all those things. Essentially, we're pulling it from multiple different POS. Usually, they at least have this abstract concept the same, but the way they represent it is different. But we're pulling the same source of information. And I guess the moat is first is like how we acquire these data. These data are technically shop owners, right? Like I own this data. I've been doing this. I've done Tyler's car repair, right? It's not the tech metric. It's just that they are sort of custodian of my data, right? They have. I think the document they sign is literally says, okay, they can remarket it or do use it for some purposes, but they don't own this, right? So if I shop owner wants to, okay, get rid of my data, they have to, right? So we're working directly with the shop owners, and then they are giving us direct access to their accounts so that we can pull these data, and there's nothing they can do to block it. I mean, they could, but it would be pretty illegal, I think. So the moat we have is essentially a customer's feedback and the feedback loop. We have a really strong relationship with our customers, and we truly believe in the Palantir's approach and forward deployed engineer. I think all of us are forward deployed engineer at this moment. So essentially, we go to shop, we find out, okay, what's the problem, and then we're much better at iterations. I mean, I've worked with big companies, right? Like you always have tons of backlogs, things need to happen, but we don't have that much baggage, right? So, man, we just have to do this well. Other things don't
Awesome.
matter, right?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have that speed and that expertise for sure compared to these like incumbents. You mentioned that the incumbents are definitely like interested in building this kind of technology themselves. How much do
Absolutely.
you see them actually investing in it, and do you think that they are actually capable of building these capabilities?
Investing, I think it depends on which incumbents, but I think everyone says they're interested, because it's going to boost their stock price. Because some of them are public, right? Well, some of their I guess mother company. What's the word? Like a company that owns them. Are so obviously they have
Hmm.
to incorporate some AI stuff. Can they deliver? I don't want to be too pessimistic for them, but I think it's hard for them because they're not that great. Like we've seen their codes, they're not great. And then unless they're actually significantly spending more time and getting a good talent and then actually passionate people, plus who are actually experimenting AI, it would be hard to deliver, to be honest. And that's why I think they should work with like companies like us because we could use their data, like really. I mean, and then we'll happy to share the revenue. I mean, if they want to try it, we should compete. But you know, that's my position. But I don't know. We could be wrong, and if we're wrong, we'll be dead, right? So
Well, you mentioned that you work directly with shop owners. How are you getting in touch with them? Is that like literally going like door to door, or is
yeah.
it paid ads or?
We went door to door. We bought some donuts, and usually, I mean, it was trial and error, right? So we bought some donuts and went there in the morning. And when they're not busy, they're actually very talkative. And then we just asked, "Hey, what's the most annoying thing?" And one time we actually, got pretty far with one of the shop owner in Michigan, and he's a very influential figure. And then, he had a lot of opinions. We talked to him, and he actually worked with other startups in our space. Surprisingly, there are a few startups in our space. And then so he was a unique, mixture, right? He was like, "Oh yeah, I was an early user of Shop Genie and yada yada yada." So he was a very good. He was giving us a good feedback. So we actually got a chance to work in his shop. Literally, what it means is like we were stalking, his shop advisors and then mechanics, what they're doing, and then yeah, just learning how they do. And then we found a pain point. I was like, "Wait, why don't you just use historical data in this data? Like, what does that even mean?" I was like, "Oh shit, okay, yeah."
Amazing. I love that. Doing something that doesn't scale where you're physically bringing donuts to their shop and like actually learning the trade.
Yeah, I
It's
think it
really the
goes
best way
far
to find those.
in
Yeah,
this service industry.
definitely. Well, yeah, I'd love to dig into a bit of the actual tech side now. When it
Hmm.
comes to your AI systems, like what is the, I guess, overview of how the system works? Are you using RAG? Are you using LLM providers? Do you fine tune models? What's the system look like, and where are you applying AI within your product, and where is it just traditional software?
Yeah, at this moment, we're using RAG to generate the quotes. What we mean by RAG is like we have real records of other, what do you call it, jobs, right? Other, well, invoices, ROs, and we batch multiple of them. So, hey, okay, I have a Ford Focus 2018 vehicle repair for timing chain. I'll pull in multiple of them and then feed that into our LLM. And then we have some prompts that we are constantly making it better. And then, yeah, that's how we sort of make an initial generation quote. But we also have the sources of information. Hey, okay, these sources are actual real job that somebody in the universe has done. So in case what we generate is not great, then you should take a look at the source. Probably that's a good source to find information. And another core thing, I mean, the platform itself is basically rendering this quote and that we're keeping record of it. And another core thing is we work very closely with a parts provider called PartsTech. PartsTech is essentially a search engine for parts catalog across the universe. I mean, actually, not, I won't say universe, it's only US and Canada, I think, at this moment. So essentially, what they do is okay, O'Reilly here, there. So if I register my supplier, I can actually find them without actually having to call them. Imagine calling them; it's horrible, right? So it does. So we're sort of a integration platform of multiple stuff. I don't think like we have really thick software layer to be honest, but it's more like we just solve the problem, right? And that's our core thing,
Totally, like you were saying at the beginning, like you're at the application layer, you're where the value is being created. Great,
right?
great to know.
Absolutely.
Um,
And I mean, what we're interested in down the line is actually fine tuning small language model with bunchable, multiple lingos about the car. I think we actually know the exact taxonomy of the vehicles and the parts, so that would be very interesting. I mean, at this point, it's doing okay, but it can always be better. And then I'm sure there'll be a point where we're currently using M9 2.5 Pro, but because we have a credit, but I'm sure there will be a point where it becomes expensive. Then there will be the switch point. Yeah,
totally.
yeah.
When it comes to RAG, like what made you like why is RAG a good use case here versus let's say a traditional database lookup? Is it because that the invoices are unstructured and they're not stored in a database, or Yeah, why do LLMs make sense here?
Invoices are unstructured. It's descriptions of invoices are all human English, so it's always different. I could be say timing chain. Typo is a very straight. It's a very straightforward and very common issues. Or actually, I could be writing in timing belt instead of timing chain, but it's actually wrong. But I could write it that way. But I still want to pick up the okay. Oh, you actually meant timing chain, or at least it's semantically similar. That I should probably pull it up, right? So that's how sort of like we initially approached this problem. Okay, oh, because we have to do semantic structure all the time because of this issue, right? You can't find it most of the time. You can't find the exact match. I mean, sometimes you could, but so that means we have better data coverage and the exact match search. And then generation comes in help handy because we sort of merge multiple data points and we call them each of the semantic similarities is sort of we call them confidence. So how confident is it? How relevant is this to my query? And then I find it out. Yeah, that's sort
Awesome.
of how we do. Yep.
Is there any sort of like hybrid between the LLM part and let's say traditional software, like you said, similarity or something like that? Or does the sort of LLM part just handle everything? Does that make sense?
Could you rephrase the question?
Yeah, pretty
Because
much
yeah.
like, are you combining this when you're running the LLM workflow? Is it combined
Mhm.
with any other types of more traditional software, or is it mainly like,
Mm.
okay, time to hand off, to the AI system, and there we go.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're actually, well, first of all, we have a Postgres database. We're pulling these data actually as a query because we know that, okay, these should be, we do a metadata filter, right? Because, okay, I'm looking for focus, right? For focus. So we're not just relying on, okay, vector search for finding all the relevant data. So that's not right. So what we're doing is, okay, once we fetch these information, we use it to generate. And I mean, the way we render, I mean, we have web application, right? So I guess that's a regular software stack.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, core feature of generating quotes, yeah, we heavily utilize AI for that.
But it sounds like the first step is maybe a pre-processing,
Correct.
filtering, using metadata in a more traditional sense, and then you decide these are
Correct.
the things I want to feed to the AI
Right.
system. Okay,
Right.
great. Awesome. Do you use any third-party tools? I mean, I know you're using an LLM provider like Gemini, but do you use any sort of like SaaS, like AI SaaS products?
Currently we're using Vellum.
Haven't heard of it.
Vellum is for
What does it do?
workflow. It's sort of a prompt management software. I gotta figure out how they call themselves, but at least for me, it's essentially a pipeline of improving our prompts because
Mm,
you can build up the evaluations. I can run it automatically and then actually find out, okay, prompt A, variant A, it's actually performing better than prompt B based on these metrics and based on these evaluations, right? So more of a structured approach to improving prompts. So that's the core, I guess, AI SaaS tool that we're currently
mm,
using. Other things, not so much. I mean, we just use a lot of AI tooling just for development
yeah.
purposes. We use Cursor, uh, and then I actually like to, not my team at this moment. I mean, Linear, we use them a lot, and then I don't know if you've been using it, but been using a tool called Warp.
Mm,
It's like a AI enabled terminal. It's beautiful. It writes much better than I do. I just
nice.
have to make sure that it doesn't lie to me. I just always have to double check, triple check. But yeah, it's fast, gets stuff done. So yeah.
That's awesome. When it comes to that prompt management tool,
hmm
I'm curious how big is your team? Is it you and your co-founder? Are there others? And who is writing prompts? Like, is everyone allowed to go in there and tweak them, or is it still just an engineer's job to you?
It's for everyone, and that's actually the purpose of that tool because it's what do you call it? Makes it very easy for non-technical people to make an edit. Actually, the goal of this is to have a subject domain expert, say our advisor, Dave, to actually touch it. That would be great. So I'm actually working on the pipeline right now. But at this moment, we have a founding engineer. So at this moment, it's me and our founding engineer who's mostly worked on the prompt, but I'm trying to incorporate my co-founder as well. And then yeah, because he has more car experience than I do,
Mm,
so that'd be nice. And then eventually actually reach it to our customer. So yeah, and the core thing that we're actually relying on our customer is actually building the eval sets. So basically, they will have to give us, okay, hey, this is what I would build, right? Because what I'm really trying to mimic with the prompt and AI is, okay, I want to pull out 40 years of Dave's experience, right? And if I could 90% replicate him, dude, that's awesome. Like that's literally 99% better than most of the service advisor in the industry. So
Mm,
yeah.
amazing. What is the I'm always curious to hear like people's opinion on like who is a prompt engineer now, and it sounds like you're
Mm.
open to non-technical people doing the prompt engineering, but it sounds like there's still some gap for them to like get in there for your advisor and for your co-founder. What is it that's not enabling them to kind of go in there and do it right now?
I guess the deployment.
Mm, mhm,
So they don't understand how, okay, maybe you could give them, okay, oh, you make the change on this text,
mhm,
but they don't understand, okay, how does this get, so they need us to, okay, hey, how do I deploy this change? In this case, we're actually pretty inefficient, I guess. They will have to redeploy the whole server, and then maybe there's a better way to do this, but essentially
mhm,
that's sort of what's going on. So maybe what we can do is actually make it dynamic, right? And then them just making changes there. I think Vellum also supports deployment like that, so that could be one thing I we might consider, but that seems like the biggest, like making changes. Also, eval, right? Like they would have to know how to run it,
mm,
which
mhm.
they'll have to, okay, spin up the server and then check, okay, click, click, click. They'll have to learn all those. So yeah, I
And
think
see like
that's the
what the
two things,
results.
right? Right. So I think that's Vellum solves those problems in my view. So
Cool.
not that I'm selling
Awesome.
them, I'm not getting paid for that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Awesome. Well, yeah, it's been a great convo. I just had one more question for you before we wrap up.
yes,
Like,
please.
what's next for Carvis? Like, what are you guys focused on right now, and what's the next step?
Yeah.
I'll put your website up on the screen as well.
Awesome. Thank you. We're currently very focused on enterprise. This is our older version. We're working on a new page, but
Sweet.
essentially, as I briefly told you, Tyler, we're very focused on enterprise scale, so more bigger shops. We're currently working with shop a network with 500 and 150. So essentially, sort of a bigger customer with more data, and then they need more data analysis and understanding. So I think our use case is better with them. Plus, they have a less incumbent problem. These people have more voice than independent shop owners, so that's really helpful for us at this moment.
Mm,
But yeah, that's sort of where we're heading towards right now.
amazing. Well,
Awesome.
yeah, really appreciate the convo. It's been super insightful and always great to hear about the founder journey. So, where can people go to follow you and Carvis?
Probably LinkedIn is the best. I think I posted our company in LinkedIn. Sorry, I couldn't post my personal one, but I'm sure you can find me out easily. It's CJ Na, pretty straightforward, hopefully. But
Great.
yeah, and then yeah, I write sometimes on the it's a Substack. Yeah, if you
Awesome.
wanna listen to me ranting about some stuff, please do.
Cool. Well, thanks again, CJ. It's been great chatting with you, and
Likewise.
looking
Thank
forward
you,
to next
Tyler.
time.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you. Appreciate
Yeah.
it. All righty.